There are two emblems inside the rim box to be placed on the lower extension arm. These are usually installed in step number 2 after the lower extension arm has been installed. Don't forget to install the height indicator in step number 4. This piece looks like a black steel ruler with a hole drilled in one end of it. If you do not install the height indicator at the time you install the spring assist, you will find it very difficult to install it later. If you install the safety pin at the end of the assembly, you will not be able to lower the backboard less than 7.5 feet. The safety pin is useful to prevent accidental backing into the backboard from when you exit the garage.
Hi, my name is Mike Murley and I'm a professional assembly, installation, and repair technician. I've been doing this type of work for many years and have trained hundreds of other technicians all around the country. I can also tell you, you will not find a better basketball system anywhere than the Mega Slam products. I've developed this video to help you understand the written instructions better. It might be a good idea to occasionally pause the video to give you time to write down any notes that you may feel to be important during the assembly process. This video should also remove any anxiety you may have about taking on a project like this. If you don't already have your Mega Slam system with the included instructions, I would like to suggest that you go to their website and download a copy to use for taking notes as you follow along. It really doesn't matter which Mega Slam system you have, they are all basically the same. After you have selected the location for your system, you will need to call 811, the call before you dig number, because it is the law. After you receive delivery of your Mega Slam system, inspect the contents to make sure all parts have arrived. The first thing you should look for is the J-bolt system. Assemble it before doing anything else at this point would be a really good idea. Do not remove the hardware that you will see in the blister pack. If you do, it will make identifying parts much harder during the assembly process. If you have a wide driveway or large parking area, the following may not be of concern to you, but you should consider the distance from the front of the pole to the edge of the playing surface before you dig the foundation, because if you have a narrow driveway and you install your system's foundation right up to the playing surface, you will have less playing area. If this is the case, you may want to move the foundation back from the driveway as much as 24 inches to give you more playing area in front of the backboard, but giving you even more area in your driveway. Some of the other factors that you may want to take into consideration are overhead power lines. There should be no power lines within a 20-foot radius of the intended playing area. The items that you will need on day one for digging your foundation that are not included with your system are a post hole digger, a spade shovel, a wheelbarrow, a garden hose, a trowel, an 8-foot 2x4 cut down to 4 19.5-inch long pieces to make an 18-inch square form, a hammer, some nails, a 3 or 4 foot level, a tape measure, and 2 large crescent wrenches. Some extra tools that I would like to suggest would be a spud bar, which will help you get through heavy rock and clay soils much faster. A 5-gallon bucket and a 1-gallon bucket will help you mix the concrete faster by having a predetermined amount of water in a 1-gallon bucket for each bag that you use. You keep the 5-gallon bucket full of water so that you can use the 1-gallon bucket to mix with your concrete. The foundation is the most labor-intensive part of the installation. You will need to dig the hole to the specifications and mix every bag of concrete separately. Make sure when you dig the hole to bell out the bottom as shown in this graphic. I want to make this perfectly clear. It is a very important part of the installation that needs to be completed before you start mixing the concrete, and that is to have the J-bolt system assembled first. it might not be a bad idea to spray each bolt with some WD-40 at this point once the assembly has been made.
Additionally, before mixing and pouring the concrete, you want to be sure that you build the forms.
Insert the rebar into the hole from front to back and side to side as shown in this graphic. Additionally, before you start mixing the concrete, make sure you have the number of bags for the weight of concrete required. It is not going to hurt to have 2 or 3 extra bags on hand, because it's better to have too many bags than too few. You can always return the extra bags. As you pour the concrete, make sure that you agitate each batch into the previous batch by using a rake, hoe, or a shovel. After you have finished pouring the last batch, quickly use a trowel to smooth out the top of the concrete. Do not play around with it too much at this point, because you don't want your concrete to be setting up. Once it is smooth, quickly insert your J-bolt system and make sure that you twist and turn the J-bolt system as you move it up and down and until you have the bottom of the plate touching the concrete. It is very important to allow 72 hours for the concrete to cure before installing the rest of your system. Verify that there's no concrete on the threads before you attempt to stand the main pole. If there is any concrete on the J-bolts, you can simply clean them up by using a stiff wire brush and some water. It might not be a bad idea to spray each bolt again with some WD-40. Verify that the nuts for the anchor system are perfectly level and parallel to the playing surface by using the sequence from the following video.
There is a sequence that you want to perform on getting these precisely level the first time and every time. And the way we do that is after the J-bolt system has set up and you're ready to stand your system up, you're going to want to loosen these nuts up first on your J-bolts. And I would turn them a minimum of 1 full, maybe a 1 1/4 turn to get close to 1/8 of an inch of clearance under each one of these nuts all the way around. Now we know that because this is high over here, we know that this is setting very low. So what that means is we're going to turn this nut up even higher. So what we're going to do is get this nut on the high side. And the other reason why we want to turn these nuts up is because if we start doing our level and we find out that going through the sequence that if we did not bring these up and this nut, your final nut requires you to go down, then the problem is you're already bottomed out and there's no travel on that nut. So let's go ahead and go through the sequence. What I'm going to do, since this is my low side, I'm going to get this diagonal first. So what you do is you set your level on top of the nuts. And actually I got lucky here and dialed it in. Let me go ahead and lower it down and show it high on this side. So what you do is you turn that nut until you dial, you can see that bubble moving, until you get that bubble perfectly level between these 2 posts here. Now once these are perfectly level, you can select either of the other posts by whichever one of these posts been properly leveled. So what you want to do is we'll go ahead and select the one with the highest distance from the plate, and so we'll use this one and go to this one here. So when we do that, we're going to see that we're a little bit high on this side. Now what you don't want to do is make any adjustments anymore on this one or this one. These 2 are perfectly level and we want to keep them that way. Level. So now we want to get these level. So if we try to make an adjustment on this, then we're throwing this one out. So what we want to do is leave this one alone, leave this one alone. We can see it's high to this side, so we'll go ahead and raise up on that nut back and forth until we get it dialed in perfectly right there. Now we know that this, and this are perfectly level all the way around. The only thing we need to do now is do this final one here, and to do that, rather than come off of any of the corners opposite this diagonal, we go to another diagonal. We started here, we're going to end up here. So we go ahead and put the level on the nuts, and you can see that it actually is pretty good. It looks like it could go a little bit that way, so we'll go ahead and dial that up. I want to go down, I'm sorry. Go down with that nut to get that travel in that direction there. Okay, now we're perfectly level there. We are perfectly level there. And if we go around, we're going to find that we're perfectly level on every single one of these nuts. And once you are, then you're ready to put your washers on and stand the pole up. It's as simple as that.
I want to emphasize that a glass backboard system requires the aid of at least 4 strong adults. In the footage used in this instructional video, you will see that the installation was done with 2 adults. However, the people in these videos are professionals and they know each step that the other is going to take next. Install the main pole with the welded bracket facing away from the playing area. Then on each J-bolt, place 1 metal washer, 1 locking washer, and a nut. After the pole has been aligned, it is time to tighten all 4 nuts. From this point forward, you do not need, or you should not, tighten all of the nuts in the assembly process until instructed to do so later at the end of the assembly. Now, inspect the main pole for 2 plastic washers that should have been installed in manufacturing for the lower extension arm. Lift the lower extension arm over the main pole and lower it to the holes in the main pole, where you install a bolt, a metal washer, through the hole as shown in this diagram. The plastic washers will be between the main pole and the lower extension arm. Once the bolt is through the main pole and on the other side of the extension arm, you can install the other metal washer followed by a locking nut. Place the height actuator behind the pole and install the bottom bolt with a metal washer and plastic washer as shown in the diagram. Plastic washers are installed between the welded bracket and the actuator. Rotate the handle to lengthen the actuator to the point where the upper holes in the actuator are properly aligned with the holes in the rear of the lower extension arm. Install the top bolt, metal washers, and nylon locking nut at this point. Slide the steel sleeve for the spring assembly through the upper portion of the spring cartridge. Make sure that you place the height indicator over the sleeve for the spring cartridge before running the bolt all the way through the lower extension arm. Align the bottom holes for the spring cartridge with the designated holes on the extension plate. This can be simply done by rotating the actuator handle by lowering it into place. Then install the lower bolt with the metal washer as shown in the diagram, followed by the locking nut. Install a bolt with a metal washer through one upper extension arm and insert into the upper hole of the main pole. Then place the other extension arm over the bolt and secure with a metal washer and nylon locking nut as shown in the diagram. Raise the backboard so the front of the backboard is facing the playing surface. Align the lower set of holes on the backboard to the lower extension arm and quickly insert the bolt with the steel washer through the assembly. Do not fully tighten the nuts until instructed to do so later in this process. Raise the front of the backboard to be perpendicular to the playing surface. Align the upper extension arms one at a time with the upper section of the backboard and attach with and install the bolt with a metal washer through, and then a plastic washer in the center of the pivoting point between the upper extension arm and the tab on the backboard. Repeat this process for the second upper extension arm. Install 4 carriage bolts through the holes in the rim plate and lift this assembly into place with the bolts through the 4 designated holes on the backboard. On the opposite side of the backboard, install 4 metal washers and 4 flange nuts as shown in the diagram. Do not fully tighten the flange nuts as to give you a little bit of play to move the rim around until it is level. Once you have the rim level, it's time to tighten those 4 nuts. Install the rim plate on the base of the rim with 2 machine screws. Now it is time to remove the spacer on the spring cartridge.
Okay, now it's time to go through and tighten all of the nuts and bolts to your system. Tighten only until you see the gap between the parts close. Do not over tighten, as this will make it difficult to raise and lower your system. You just want to bring it up snug to the parts that are being attached at that point.
The safety pin is used to prevent lowering the backboard lower than 7.5 feet, to prevent vehicles from running into it when backing out of a garage.
Have someone that can reach 6 foot 5 inches hold the tape in place on top of the rim while you dial it in to a 6 foot 5 inch height. Peel about 1 inch of the backing off the height indicator sticker, place it under the height indicator and position it to the 6 foot 5 inch mark. Then press the exposed adhesive part of the sticker onto the spring cartridge. Then remove the rest of the backing and smooth the sticker the rest of the way down on the spring cartridge.
I hope this video helped you by combining my experience with the written instructions so that the video makes sense to the consumer. If you are methodical in the installation process by following the instructions and the suggestions that I give you in this video, you will have many years of safe playing with your Mega Slam basketball system. Thanks for watching.